I'll change my playlist. So the first thing that you may have noticed, if you typically hang out here, is that I sound the way that I used to. If you don't know what that means, it means that you didn't check in yesterday. First of all, how dare you? And second of all, I don't blame you. I tried to apply a bunch of audio fixes, and it only occurred to me after the fact that the audio fixes that I was working on applying to my equipment had a completely different effect than it would normally on the person that was helping me's equipment, because they're an audiophile, which means that they have gear that I don't, and necessarily that means that, oh my shit, my model's not working. Oh, hang on, good start, let's get in it, I was too busy making coffee. There it is. Oh my god, look at me moving around. Oh my god. Okay. We were doing audio improvements yesterday, and they weren't great, and I didn't realize how not great they were until I started listening to it in post. People were trying to tell me, justifiably, that I sounded like I was talking inside of a tin can, like a really fucked up tin can, and I didn't hear it on my testing, so you know, it's good that they let me know, because then I would have thought to check, because I would have continued making myself believe that it was fine, that everything was fine, and it was very clearly not fine. So I thankfully had the foresight to list exactly what order in the daisy chain of sound manipulations I've done, just so I can undo it if it turns out to be fucked. And in this case, it turned out to be fucked, so it's no longer a thing. I don't know offhand if I'm about the average amount of loudness that I was before. I believe so. I think that I'm about as loud, or I should sound the same as I used to. If I don't, for whatever reason, if I sound still tinny or muddy or too loud or too quiet or not enough cheese, too much macaroni, please, for the love of God, I beg of thee, let me know so I can make adjustments effortlessly on my side. Okay, so what's today about? What are we doing? It sounds great. Good. It's also, I woke up about 2 hours ago, and then I've said literally nothing from the time that I've been up, which means that my voice is doing this kind of like not full Batman gravel thing that I used to, or not full on Batman gravel thing. What am I trying to say to you? It's like I like the way that my voice sounds when I first wake up. Like I cannot be fucked. It's like tonally, I just cannot be fucked. So like other Stoicism Stream specials, on top of us talking about self-help life advice strats, just general enough to apply to what might be bothering you today or tomorrow or yesterday, whether it's a little or a lot. This stream is going to double function like you, Chatter, and me, Stoic, just hanging out and drinking coffee. That's literally what I'm doing. I have I don't know, like a 32-ounce thermos of coffee chilling in front of me, filled with, of course, peppermint mocha creamer, because I'm not a degenerate. And I don't imagine drinking hazelnut. Oh, Imagine Dragons. I've set up links to anonymous sign-up list feedback site that you can plug questions that you have at any time about anything, in case you want to ask something but it might be sensitive to you, and or you don't want it associated with your Twitch username. And these links are pinned at the top of Twitch chat, can be summed up with !AMA on Twitch, and is on screen at the bottom for the people that are watching on YouTube. I'm occasionally going to check at this site and stop sometimes in order to look for questions and answer them to the best of my ability. For base covering purposes, I'm not accredited. I'm not certified. I'm not licensed anywhere to perform psychological or philosophical counseling. I can say that I know that I've helped people according to them, and anything I ever say in a Stoicism stream, I've practiced personally or I've applied myself to real world situations. There's no minimum or maximum amount of time this thing is going to run. We're just going to keep talking until it seems like a good time to stop. After which, we'll take a 15-minute break, which is when I'll rotate in Shumi, my wonderful wife, who will probably play about 1 billion hours of Horizon Forbidden West. This round, this stream, we're going to talk about how to actually apply this shit that I occasionally like let loose, or at least try. A lot of this stuff is going to feel heavy, or it's going to feel intense, which is why I'm chasing this half of the stream. Not even half, it's more like a quarter compared to her. This quarter of the stream with Shumi, who is the most cheerful, upbeat person alive. She's a walking ray of sunshine. You'll see it if you haven't experienced her personally. If you have any questions about anything that we go over after the stream ends, please reach out to me on Discord, and I'll get back to you ASAP. The socials were literally just posted, but just in case you just came in, I'm going to retype the socials there. Lastly, before we get started, why am I doing this? It's because I owe a debt. I owe this movement, this philosophy, Stoicism, these people from thousands of years ago for who I am, and the belief that I can actually become the type of person I've wanted to be since I was a kid through my own efforts, and not from anything outside. I owe it to people going through what I did the majority of my life, hopefully to help give them the tools they need to reclaim themselves before they feel comprehensively, utterly, constantly lost or alone like I did. It is a goal to stream part-time, and if we get there, full-time, so I have as many opportunities as possible to impact people that were suffering like I did. If I continue to help even one person with every stream, I consider it accomplishing my core goals, no matter how much or how little money flows through the channel, or whether I float 1 million followers or 1,000. So with that, let's get started. I'm gonna start with a quote. If you work at what's before you, following right reason, vigorously, calmly, without distraction, expecting nothing, fearing nothing, and you're satisfied with your occupation, according to nature and with truth in all that you say, you will live happy and none will be able to prevent this. That's my homie, Marcus Aurelius, a Stoic emperor, one of the 5 good emperors, which is a period of time that historians generally agree was basically like the only time during ancient Rome where the point of the government's focus was to actually improve the quality of life of the people that are depending on it. I'm a practicing Stoic. I would say probably how many years has it been now? Give me a second, I'm parsing. 11 years. I didn't fit that description at all. Generally speaking, my life could have been a lot worse, but it was not gentle. I experienced depression for the first 3 quarters of my life as a result of compulsive overthinking, emotional hypersensitivity, really low self-respect, borderline imperceptible, and very little self-worth. In short, I was convinced that I was nothing, and I believed that there was a chance that I would always be what I would consider to be nothing. I was certain very little. There's only a few things that I felt very sure of. I knew what I didn't want out of life. I didn't want the life that I was living. I was afraid of the future. I was concerned that things would always feel that way. I had a very vague idea of what I wanted to accomplish with my life. I did think a great deal. I did think all the time, and others seemed to confide in me. My decision to apply to college originally was to become a counselor was based purely on that idea, that people opened up to me, and I thought literally all the time whether I wanted to or not. So I guess I'm supposed to be a counselor. I guess that's what I'm supposed to be. So I'm just gonna go to college for that, because you know, no job is gonna accept me unless I get a college degree to begin with. So you know, I might as well just go for that, I guess. I didn't have a passion. I didn't have a dream. Once I got accepted into college, I took on psychology as my major. I went through the motions for a couple of semesters until I was required to attend an intro to philosophy course. I had very little interest in philosophy because I didn't know anything about it. Neither did I believe that anything in it was probably applicable to me. I had this idea, like most still do, and this is not their fault, that it's full of shit like, are we being chased around by giant spaghetti monsters that are invisible and we just don't know it? Or how do I know that I'm not dreaming right now? Because when you're in the dream, it feels like you're not in the dream. You know what I mean? Shit like that. I didn't believe that it was applicable to me. And so I had a really tough time getting anything out of the class until there was a dude that was randomly volunteered towards me, called Epictetus. The philosopher, it just happened to be Epictetus's time to be talked about. At that time, what each philosopher that was gone over believed was good or evil was talked about. A few of the theories that I was hearing seemed to explain why it was important to believe what they did, or to feel the way that they did. And almost none of them described how to actually start thinking that way. Epictetus did both, and the claims that they made hit home with me. Welcome in, Xantos. You timed this perfect. Fallout episode 6 just finished for me. I know. I have eidetic knowledge of everything that you do at all times, Xantos. It's one of the it's one of the big conveniences of making sure that everybody that comes through the channel gets chipped. Yeah, and don't try to dig it out because you will explode. So virtue is the only good, vice is the only evil. There are things in your control, things that are not. Peace and happiness can't come from outside, it has to come from inside. These were things that Epictetus, through my philosophy professor in this intro to philosophy course, was saying out loud. That idea that I can become happy and stay happy purely through my own efforts and not like independent of anything that's either happening outside to me, negative or positive, was pretty enticing. And that really hit home with me. And so I didn't, unfortunately, chase that feeling until the semester afterward. On just like another day. It was like a Tuesday or something. On this day, my work was caught up. I was doing okay monetarily. My evening was free. I had the room to myself, and I had plans going on. It was fine. Everything was fine. Everything felt okay. Nothing was really out of place in that specific moment. And yet, I felt this strange feeling overcome me. The thought that nothing is wrong, and there's good things that are happening to me, things that I'm looking forward to. Why am I not happy? This specific set of conditions is supposed to like generate some kind of like recurring dopamine stream, right? Like I should feel content, and to a degree I did, but that thought kind of freaked me out. And so, self-preservation instinct kicked in, and I tried to console myself. I said, you're thinking too much. This is normal. Everyone feels this way. Nobody feels explosively happy all the time. That's life. Who says otherwise? And I remembered Epictetus, so I pulled my Intro to Philosophy book out from its resting place, and I started to read the entire book. This fucking insanely dry 500-page motherfucker from front to back. Okay, over the course of like 3 months, I read every major philosophical theory from Plato to Kierkegaard to Nietzsche, and I saved Epictetus's spot for last. I did this because I wanted to consider as much information as possible to search for an answer to that question and other things that I felt earlier in my life. I came close to get that hit home feeling a couple of times, but I couldn't replicate it. It wasn't appearing again. So eventually I flipped back to Epictetus's pages, and it happened to be a very badly translated, butchered version of something called the Enchiridion, aka the Handbook, which was unknown to me at the time, itself a shortened version of the Discourses, which was written by one of his students called Arian. Epictetus, as far as I understand, didn't write anything himself because he believed, for better or worse, that you should practice what you preach, and it's unnecessary to write stuff down because you should just be able to sum it up. You should just be able to remember these things that are more important than anything else in the world and to be able to act on them, which is great when you're alive. It's solid thinking when you're alive and can verbally teach other people how to think that way, but is less great when, you know, it's like 2024 and you're sitting in front of a computer talking to an integer number of people, of strangers on the internet, to try to teach them about this stuff. So thank goodness that Arian was there and wrote some stuff down, because otherwise I would be, you know, down what, 1/4, 1/5 a chunk of the of the knowledge that I have now, or what I believe that I have now. So in all, the Enchiridion took about an hour to read. Some parts were very bitter to read, really, much less digest, but I had a hard time arguing against them when I read it. And overall, though, Epictetus challenged me, and if I had to practice what he was writing down and get the feelings that he claimed you would feel if you were to try to put this stuff in practice, I would have my answer, but it would take a great deal of time, effort, and focus. And I said to myself, you have nothing to lose. It's worth a shot. If I don't make a change, and things will just continue as they are. I will just continue to be, you know, kind of thrown between shit randomly according to what happens outside of me. Completely subject to what people can give me or take away from me at a moment's notice. At least I'll know that I've tried if I try to apply what was in the book. So these thoughts, others, influenced me hugely. I was going to try to put the principles into action. It was worth mentioning at the time. I was entirely unaware that what I was reading, welcome in, Franny, what I was reading was part of something called Stoicism. I thought it was just a dude. I thought it was just a dude that had a series of pretty original ideas about how to think about life or retrain your brain to take what you consider valuable from outside and refocus it internally. That's what I thought. I thought it was just a guy. I didn't know that Epictetus called himself a Stoic. Like I said, this Intro to Philosophy book was very badly written and even worse translated. So I was basically like I didn't realize it at the time. I was basically using like banging sticks of rocks together to try to make sense of the physical world around me. And the book was like a stick, was the stick. I don't know what the rock would be. It's too early in my day to come up with metaphors. Just fucking fill in the blanks. I'm gonna take a sip of coffee. Not stinky today. Not stinky today. I hope not. I took a shower like 20 minutes ago. Ooh woo. Welcome in, X-Ray. So interestingly, I was practicing Stoicism without knowing that was what it was called. Dedicated myself to read the Enchiridion in full, once a day, every day, for the semester. It took about an hour. My very simple original objective was to try to connect what I read to common daily experiences. When I recalled phrases that seemed to refer to whatever it was that was happening to me, I found that I could accomplish it. I attempted this over and over again, repeatedly, indefinitely, and with time and effort, I started to be able to associate certain things that I was reading from the Enchiridion to daily examples of things happening. I tried to regularly apply the things that I was reading to try to think that way, because the difficulty at the start, if you try to apply this, whether a lot or a little, if you try to just like take bits and pieces of what I say or what you happen to read, because a lot of this stuff is freely available online, the original challenge is just remembering what it is that you're reading. Like literally, and when I say that, I mean remember, like literally remembering the words, remembering short phrases, even simple sentences that hit home with you. And then the following challenge is trying to associate those sentences or phrases with what is happening to you in real time. The challenge after that, because you started with just simply remembering, and then you went to applying it or trying to associate a situation with what you read. And then the third challenge, and arguably the most difficult in my opinion, is trying to actually think that way. And you're going to be bending yourself backwards emotionally and psychologically. I was going to say mentally, psychologically, maybe more comprehensive, to try to, because you're fighting habits. You're fighting emotional responses and knee-jerk reactions that you've developed since you were like a baby, since you became cognizant of things happening outside of you. I think most people start practicing their philosophy long before they find out someone else has thought of it and already gave it a name. At that point, they start expanding their understanding. That sounds right. So I tried to remember what the phrases were. I tried to really think that way. It was extremely difficult to do, not because I failed to see the point of the phrases or whatever it was I was trying to remember, but because I was entirely accustomed to thinking that way, to trying to, in the moment, on a moment-by-moment basis, be self-aware, be accepting, actively observe what's happening inside of me as I experience things, as I felt things, and trying to be self-disciplined. Epictetus himself recommended to start small and work your way up. And I'm talking like really, really small. You bump into a table, you knock over your favorite coffee mug breaks. Your first impression is that your favorite coffee mug broke and this is bad. And you trying to catch yourself in that moment and say to yourself that it's impossible for things that are not fragile, for things that are fragile to not break when they are put in circumstances in which they break. That you are not robbed of the opportunity to go get a replacement for that mug. Things like that sort of thing. I never experienced the sensation of inner strength before I started applying this stuff. And I mean like true resiliency, like power, like internal power. The first time that I successfully resisted what would otherwise be just a naturally occurring inbound wave of sadness that I had been fighting for almost 2 decades at that point. So I dug deeper because, you know, that was a pretty cool thing to feel, and became aware of Stoicism, the system, well-known Stoics such as Marcus Aurelius and Seneca. And I decided that because it was effective for me in a way that other avenues had not been up until that point. And I advocate to you that if you benefit from counseling, if you benefit from getting like helpful medications that chemically balance you out, or however you wish to phrase that, absolutely continue doing that. This Stoicism for me has been effective because of the unique combination of attributes, personality traits, and history and life experiences that I have had, in a way that I have unsuccessfully experienced through counseling for me in my specific unique circumstance. It has been uniquely helpful to me. If you do try to apply whatever is going to come flying out of my mouth today, absolutely continue doing the things that help you, matching your unique combination of physiological and psychological needs and what you find beneficial according to your personality. Okay, that's the only time I'm gonna go that super deep into it. But this so far was the only time that I stopped feeling like abject sadness just kind of like wash over me. And I discovered through this stuff a tool, or a method of successfully combating that. I researched Epictetus, learned of the other Stoics, and I decided to give it a full shot. I wanted to hope that one day I would become like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, other Stoics like Musonius Rufus. I cannot help now but to believe in what they tried to accomplish and who they tried to be. And my thought at the time was, one day if I become like them, maybe I can inspire others the way that those people inspired me. Stoicism helped me attain that. It convinced me to believe in myself and my abilities for the first time in like 20 years. All that I am now, all that I was then, all that I've done, I attribute to the Stoics, to the men and the women that believed that humans could be more than the prey of their circumstances. It's a practice that will help you out as far or as little as you choose to take it. You don't have to, it's not a newsletter, it's not a religion. You don't have to subscribe to becoming a Stoic. You don't have to tell other people that you're becoming a Stoic, because it's all personal. It goes as far as you are personally willing to take it. So Stoicism is by name a philosophy of life, but it's also appropriately thought of as a skill or craft or discipline or an art. You are in every way the craftsman or craftswoman and the material. And like any craft or any art, you might have an idea of what you ultimately want to achieve, but you have to start small. Do not expect perfection in yourself, and instead interpret every single small success as significant. In fact, it's entirely appropriate to praise yourself for every little itty bitty bit of progress that you make, because you owe it to no one else and nothing else but your own initiative, your own exercise of choice, and your perseverance. The philosophy of Stoicism is compatible with a lot of belief systems in the sense that the mental techniques were developed with practical ends in mind. In other words, it's not necessary to become a Stoic to make use of it. This workshop, what I'm working through today, this stream, could prove useful to you, whether you are simply interested in the philosophy or want to incorporate elements of it into your life, or you're aiming to practice Stoicism to become a Stoic yourself. What Stoicism is and what it can do for you is reveal to you mental tools that are just chilling, that are just sitting there, and guide you in how to use them. When it's most effective, it can make you feel a pervasive, all-encompassing sense of happiness, peace, sense of purpose that's independent of difficult events that are going on. When it is least effective, at its least effective, it offers stability and contentment that's not easily disrupted. It provides a kind of mental fortitude and a sense of flexibility that's rare in our modern age, when we are constantly getting bombarded with like the impression that you need to buy shit, that you need to be known, that you have to, the line has to go up, that you have to see likes coming in, that you have to be recognized as having a good job, that you need to get, like, you need to live in a certain geological location and associate that with your self-worth, things like that. Shit that is constantly easily attacking us from every direction in a way that has not been experienced for like 30 years, brother. Okay, like since like it started to really come, like we've only started getting easily hit with shit like this when the radio first came out. All right, by practicing Stoicism, you're following tracks that are thousands of years old. It's in every way a pursuit of self-mastery and knowing yourself. It's not to scare you, it's just being straightforward. You have to decide for yourself how much or how little of Stoicism that you take up, to what degree, and what you are trying to achieve by doing that. So keep close. That few of the most valuable things in life come easily or cheaply. It's not an easy process to retrain aspects of your brain to make things like daily negative situations into something constructive, into material to improve yourself. So where did it come from? I'm gonna try to give you the Cliff Notes version. Otherwise, this is gonna become like a history class, and I want to avoid that. It started with a dude named Zeno Citium. Zeno studied under people called the Cynics, Platonists, and like a school of logicians called the Megarians. I don't know who the Megarians were. I just know that they were there. And Zeno did do this studying under them and all that. He went to this place, this public display area called the Stoa Poikile, or the Painted Porch. Originally, people that started to hang out with him, basically the only people that were willing to listen to this dude start randomly talking about, you know, what it means to try to be a good person regardless of your physical circumstances. They were originally calling themselves the Zenonians, but that didn't really roll off the tongue. And eventually they started calling them what people started referring to them as, which was the people that just like hung out at this place all the time. With the Stoics. So we're like literally like painted porch sitters is like what the term actually means. Stoicism combined. Give X-Ray love now. What do you mean? I said hi to X-Ray. What did you I didn't see any redeem like bury her in compliments. You gotta pay for your I ain't giving her shit. I did put in my to-do list to set up a workout or like an exercise themed channel in the Discord for her. So I do think about her. Okay? I just don't announce it to the world every single second, Franny. Okay? Listen to what you're saying. Stoics combined logic, physics, and ethics. The point of the system was to identify what it meant to live a good life and how to accomplish it. And to do this, a Stoic tried to hone their rational skills by combining all three parts of the system. The ethics component was the primary focus of like the late Roman Stoics. Regarding logic, trying to figure out when somebody is trying to bazinga you or to try to turn around things on you in a conversation. Resisting manipulation by other people, improving the own accuracy of how you feel about things, like contextualizing what's happening to yourself, for yourself better. By physics, understanding the patterns, mechanics, relationships that made up the order of the universe. We've come a long way in the last 2,000 years in identifying what the fuck is going on like a physical realm around us. So a lot of physical stuff, a lot of stuff that was in Stoic physics is no longer applicable, but it is interesting academically. I'm not going to go into it, but it is interesting academically how close they were to discovering, you know, that atoms do be a thing and all that, and that what like energy is, like the property of energy. But a central focus was ethics. Developing your understanding of what duty means, not the poop kind. I mean like the sense of direction or like responsibility according to whatever your role is in a situation. Good, evil, and what's going on inside of you as far as like what your judgments are about things. It's perfectly valid to think of the whole system as a web, like a literal spider web. Improving your understanding of one part of Stoicism is going to directly improve your understanding of another, which is very exciting when you're practicing this stuff for the first time, but is also making it more difficult to just get started. But that's also why you rely on other people who've fucking gone through the whole song and dance. Like me, you can just reach out to me and I will try to the best of my ability to answer any questions you might have. So ethics, this is focused on daily human issues, concerns, including what's immediate, what's pressing, what's pervasive, what's life encompassing. What does it mean to be happy? How do I become happy? Is there a point to being a good person? What does it mean to be a good person? What is the point of life? What am I? It's hard to know what's real and what's not when you've been manipulated most of your life and then you feel manipulated now, but then people say you're the manipulator. How would you use Stoicism to separate what's real and what's not? Part of the benefit of practicing Stoicism is that it is almost entirely, if not fully, self-contained and self-sustaining. You focusing on what's going on inside of you and focusing on your intentions to the best of your ability and exercising on that, committing actions in the name of that, trying to speak truthfully, meaningfully to people that you're talking to, being an active listener is something that you can always accomplish. You can never stop anyone from trying to take advantage of you. You can't. And they're going to try literally, not literally all the time. When I say they are going to try literally all the time, I'm talking about specifically the people who are in that kind of headspace. These people that are trying to manipulate you believe that they do, but they do not understand the kind of damage that they're causing to themselves as a human being. They are, by trying to manipulate you, by trying to exploit you or others, they are robbing themselves of the opportunity to realize that our design by the powers that be, whatever they are, is to be not a dick. To put it simply, to be social and rational animals. And when you rob the one part, if you rob the social part and the rationality of not being sociable with other people, then you are allowing yourself to lose the fourth and most important aspect of what it means to be human. So your response in that circumstance is to just pity them. Feel bad for people that want to try to exploit you. Don't try to it's like explain, like you can't, like don't walk up to somebody that you feel is doing this to you and be like, I'm sorry that you became this way. Okay, I've dropped my guard and I've said that to people, including this one psycho that was playing with me in this game that you see in the background here, and I was trying to get them to do a perfectly reasonable common function that their role played in this group that I was a part of out in this place called Valkyrie Dunes, trying to kill monsters. And for whatever reason, they were really slow, like unusually slow doing it. They were severely under-equipped, like laughably under-equipped, and they were using an ability that made it harder on the rest of the party, like consistently, to do their job. So I was giving them suggestions, and I was saying to them, because I didn't know this person, right? It's my first time experiencing anything with them, and this game relies on cooperation constantly, unendingly. Like, you need to depend on everyone in your unit, so to speak, in order to do the thing, whatever the thing is. So I thought that maybe this person is new. Maybe they just don't understand what it is that they're supposed to be doing, or the end result of what it was that they were doing to do their job. And I explained to them nicely a few times in whispers. I didn't like call them out. And I said to them, I was like, hey, if you happen to be using this is a better thing to do in this situation. If you need it, I can loan you XYZ piece of equipment in order to do the thing, in order to make the thing happen. And after a long time of them just not replying to me, I followed up with them again, and I said, can you hear me? And they said back to me, yeah, I've just been ignoring you this whole time. So this person then continued to lay into me in a way that I have never seen for years, from either anybody in a game or outside of a game. Stuff like, do you have any idea how much better at this game I am than you? Don't you know that I accomplished XYZ thing that is extraordinarily difficult in this game that I know that you haven't done? these are the things that I think that you're doing wrong with your position, and that's why you shouldn't talk to me. Just stuff like that for like 45 minutes. People that have decided to be like that are in a frame of mind. The people that are both unwilling to be helped and are being deliberately aggressive or rude or exploitative or what have you don't understand what they're doing. If they understood what it meant to be sociable, what it meant to be rational, they wouldn't act that way. So you have two choices. Either you just try to turn the situation that they're presenting you as constructive internally as you can in yourself, while doing whatever that you need to do procedurally to either get out of the situation, if it's possible to do so, or to try to turn it into something good. Like if you're on the receiving end of somebody being shitty to you or trying to be manipulative and you're behind the counter as a customer service person, then you need to try to tell yourself that there's only so much time that this person is going to be here. That the things that are coming out of this individual are as is sound and air first. And it's only granted its meaning second. I am the thing that is telling me how much weight to put behind their words, behind their strength. I determine whether I believe what they're saying to be true or accurate, and to what degree. I may not be in the presence of mind at this moment to be able to resist properly, but I will use this situation as an opportunity to try to self-improve. And there's literally nothing that this person that is acting this way towards me or anyone else can do to stop me from trying that. I don't know if any of that answered your question, and it also segued a little bit randomly into something that still had a point at the end of it, but I hope that helped. Let me take a glance at this Stoicism stream. So as you people that are in here might have noticed, I undid the quote-unquote audio improvements that I set up yesterday. I should sound the way that I did before, if not very slightly better. I do see myself peaking a little bit on my microphone, so I might have to adjust it a little bit, especially when Shumi comes in here. Let me look. Refresh this. Yep says, how do you navigate your true path when everyone around you is against it? In Stoicism, you have a few roles, or you are always trying to think about things in terms of your roles. Your primary goal, above all other conventional roles, is to try to be a good person. That's the core of what you are trying to accomplish. You're not trying to become an astronaut. You are not trying to become a well-known artist. You're not trying to become a deep sea diver. You are trying to be a good person that tries to execute faithfully, with good intentions, everything that they think, everything that they say, everything that they try to do. And then everything else chases after that. All of your conventional positions, whether they're things that you're doing or that they're things that you want to do or not, all feed back into that core idea. So what you consider to be your true path is not impossible. If you are saying, like, I want to just like leave my job and go live in the mountains, and completely go off the grid and stuff like that, you are not prevented from doing that. That's not what I'm suggesting. What I'm saying is that the stuff that is in between you and what you visualize as your true path, that all of us normally feel or think or believe is in our way, becomes material to better prepare yourself for the opportunity, if, or more likely when it appears, that you can actualize that true path that you're considering. But in this kind of like combo of this combo package, this combo platter, this Chinese food combo platter of concepts that I'm giving to you right now, your true path is that core idea. that you are trying to make yourself the best possible person that you can be, and as it happens, people respond to that. You shouldn't depend your peace of mind on people responding to that, or on people giving you or presenting you with the opportunity to reach that idea of like that dream state that you're describing to me. You should try to do the best that you can with what you have and the time that you have it, to try to improve yourself, to aim towards that dream state that you're angling yourself towards, and then everything in between has to become material for you in some way. You draw that line in the sand, do the best that you can, let everything else happen the way that it will. Don't depend your peace of mind as far as you possibly can, as often as you can, on the results. How much of your understanding of neurobiology and human behavior influence your Stoic beliefs? Hi, XX. The neurobiology part of it, unfortunately, I can't speak to that literally at all. There is in Stoicism, like so I shouldn't exactly say that. I know a very, very limited amount, and only in the service of trying to understand how to apply Stoicism more effectively. So, this is what I'm about to say is going to line up, hopefully, with what your like the beginning part of your question is. In Stoicism, there is a physical response in you as a person whenever you experience literally anything happening at any time, using one of your five senses. When you experience something, you're provided a snapshot that is instantaneous, that is non-voluntary. You can't prevent it. It just happens, and it triggers like chemical responses in you that cause you to feel a certain way at the very start. And that the combination is referred to as the first impression. Okay? When you experience sensory input combinations, I'm sorry, Bridget, I see you. I'll read chat in a second. I just don't want to lose. I'm doing good, and I don't want to lose my train of thought. That first impression combines with something called the first movement of the soul. The first movement of the soul is your contextualization of whether the thing that seems to be happening instantly or immediately is good or bad. So this thing is happening, and this is good or bad. The first movement and the first impression combined together in Stoicism to form something called a proposition, which is something that our human minds can understand and either agree with or disagree with. And if disagree with, then obviously there are blanks that need to be filled, but that's the idea. If we agree that X is happening and it's good or evil, if we agree with that idea, whatever we first felt from that proposition gets magnified and basically gets cemented. And the more often that we react to similar situations, the more likely that we're going to more powerfully feel what it is that we would normally feel in those similar situations, and reflexively. So building a habit, it becomes a habit of, okay, well, this thing I've always experienced as being bad, it's super bad. This seems like a similar situation, so it probably means that other bad similar things are happening. You just start assuming that it's that specific combination of elements is always going to be like that. As far as like the human behavior aspect influencing my Stoic beliefs, I've been using myself as a guinea pig for like the last 11, 12 years or so. It is second nature for me to be on top of my own mind to the point that I can identify when what I am feeling or what I am thinking is inconsistent with my beliefs and what I know to be true, but I have not, for whatever reason, in that moment, properly resisted or properly tried to turn it into something constructive. I am always trying to assess why people do what they do. and how they do it, and to the degree that they do it successfully. You be the judge. But for me, I've definitely had a lot of practice monitoring human behavior, and I don't think that that's ever gonna stop. I can't. It's a switch that I flipped on, and I can't turn it off. So this doesn't work with physical pain. Like, I have lower back pain, which will probably never go away. So, Marcus Aurelius, I'm gonna read this last question before I go into that. Actually, what do I do if I get timed out for 9,000 seconds? How did I know? IFB. I wonder who that could be. So in Stoicism, all the Stoics that are still surviving, like the ones that still have surviving text, I'm talking about your Epictetuses, I'm talking about your Senecas, your Marcus Aureliuses, all of them experienced fucked up physical problems. Cato the Younger was, for the most part, very healthy, but he was also a soldier, so he had to deal with unmedicated, because they didn't have aspirin and shit back then. At least I don't think so. Maybe they did. Don't quote me on that. I'm not a historian. I'm not going to pretend that I'm a historian. All the Stoics that I'm aware of, all the Stoics that I've read, have dealt with either chronic pain of some description, or constant illness. Because back then, you know, you washed your hands with pee. Again, I'm not a historian. I think that's what you did. Some of us may wash our hands with pee now. I'm just saying is that you probably should not do that. Or they would do things like, you know, crushed lead and use that for makeup and shit like that, like carcinogens and stuff like that, right? So they had to deal with chronic pain all the time. They had a very short lifespan, all of them. Even as an emperor, you know, you were still like a meat mech, right? Just like you are today. So back then, you know, they were 50 times more susceptible to all sorts of shit. Seneca was believed to have asthma. So he had to deal with almost literally dying every time he had a cough attack, because there was no inhalers back then, right? Marcus Aurelius was constantly sick all the time. As an emperor, he had the best possible medical care that was available at the time, but best possible medical care at the time, again, was like washing your hands with pee. All right. So he was constantly sick. He was experiencing nonstop emotional pain, just because you're more powerful and more well off. Not that he took advantage of that, but more powerful, more well off than anyone else alive doesn't mean that you can't lose your kids. And he lost like 90% of the kids that he had. So all of them dealt with sorry, Epictetus. I'm gonna give you one more example. Epictetus's name literally means slave or acquired. And Epictetus, before he was not broke out literally, but before he was freed by Musonius Rufus, another Stoic, his master at the time just decided randomly to break Epictetus's leg, just either for funsies or in response to something. But Epictetus had to live for the rest of his life with a fucked up leg that did not heal properly, that was probably experiencing all forms and flavors of arthritis and other issues from applying pressure on a leg like that's healed improperly in place, things like that. The idea is, and the reason why I go through all this is to give you like some concrete examples that they had it rough, dude. They had it rougher than we do. Granted, in America, you know, we get a boo-boo and we get charged like $50,000. I don't know if it was like the same back then. It's a different kind of pain, financial pain, I suppose. But in each of these cases, the idea is that this pain that you are subjected to, that you are experiencing on a daily basis, does not define you. It does not replace that part of your brain that calls itself me or I. What you do with the pain, you trying to constructively make use of the pain, to try to use it to improve you, of waking up, feeling the pain and saying to yourself, I am going to try to do the right thing today, regardless of what happens to me or doesn't happen to me, in spite of you the pain that I'm experiencing. You cannot prevent me from doing that. I'm going to do these things in spite of you. Does that make it easy? No. Does that make it go away? No. Does it mean that you suddenly stop needing to medicate for that? No. Does it mean that at some point down the line, you're going to wake up and you're like, well, I'm a good person now. So thereby I am healed and I no longer feel the pains and such. No, it doesn't mean that. It's important to recognize that these meat parts that are attached to you are physical by nature. They are going to break down. They are going to get worse. Or maybe they are fine. But eventually we are going to lose these meat suits. And on the way there, they're probably gonna fuck up in other ways. But we cannot allow the fucking up of the meat parts to drive us away from what our core mission is. Hi, Bridget.
Emotional damage.
Hi, Bridget. It's only been like 40 minutes since you came in. How you doing? I appreciate you being here. No need to be sorry. Take your time. Pattern recognition. Welcome in, Melkor. Thank you for being here. Going to VIP. Leah. I don't think I have many VIP slots left. Hopefully I have enough for this. VIP. Leah. Tortilla. VIP. Melkor the Great. Okay, good. I do have more slots. Nice. What exactly is a VIP slot? It basically, what it means for you is that you get a neat little diamond symbol next to your name. And it also means that Nightbot won't extrajudiciously execute you if you try to put a link of like a penis in chat. But basically it allows you to post links, and because I flagged you, it means that I trust you to some degree to not post dick pics in chat. Diplomatic immunity, right? That's exactly right. Okay. So the ethics part of Stoicism is typically the big draw. The questions I gave before. What does it mean to be happy? How do I be happy? Is there a point to being a good person? What does it mean to be a good person? What's the point of me? What am I? Who am I? Who am I trying to become? Why? That sort of stuff. In the least, developing an understanding of logic will probably help you a little bit. The physics, you can take or leave. It's academically interesting what the Stoics thought, like I said, but the ethics is a big one. The ethics is eternal. How we try to approach things on an emotional basis or contextualize things mentally, spiritually, psychologically has not changed very much at all in the last 2,000 years, much less the last 50 years. The people, what we are feeling, what you and I are experiencing, chat, in this moment, what problems that you're dealing with, what concerns that you have, what worries that you have, what hopes that you have, what dreams that you have, what you want to become, what your passions are going to be shared by the next generation of people, and the generation after that, and the generation after that, until the human race does the thing and we wipe ourselves out, or the heat death of the universe happens, or we colonize Mars, and then the people on Mars are going to be feeling and thinking these things. The same thing in reverse. People 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago all felt these things the way that we're feeling them now. So the ethics part of it is focused on a lot, because it's probably not going to change much, not for a long time, not for an extraordinary long time. I can't even think of like unless I'm not going to go into that. It's not important. I was thinking like unless we put our brains in like robot bodies and then we could choose how we think about things, but we don't have that. Maybe Elon Musk has that. I don't know. Maybe he's working on that. I'm sure that extraordinarily bizarrely rich people are thinking of a way to make themselves immortal, although I think it's going to be kind of like the game Soma. If you want to play the game called Soma and you know what I'm talking about, it's a horror sci-fi underwater game. Fucking put your hands over your ears or under your headset. It's like Soma, where you are not copying you, like you're not transplanting the person that is you into a robot body. It's probably gonna be like copying you onto another person, you are still going to be there. The copy that you're making is going to think that they're you. You know what I mean? Isn't that crazy to think about? What are we talking about? Oh no, not the chat beans. Haha, I appreciate it. Of course. I'm simply not going to die. Me too, brother. I'll see you at the end. So the concept of cosmopolitanism is a big part of the philosophy. Cosmopolitanism is the idea that all human beings are citizens as part of a global society that's independent of race, independent of nationality, gender, status, ethnicity. Stoics come from all social circles and all occupations, all the way from being a literal slave 2,000 years ago to being the emperor of the Roman Empire at its height. They were boxers. They were water carriers, aka the equivalent of like Uber Eats today. They were logicians, think tank people. They were soldiers. They were tutors, politicians, traders, laborers, video game quality assurance testers, and more. This encompassing worldview is most closely represented in Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius, the slave to emperor through line that I explained before. Other common Stoics include Cato the Younger, who was like a big rival to Julius Caesar, Musonius Rufus, Seneca, and we'll talk about these guys a little bit because it may or may not help contextualize some things. Cato the Younger was raised under Sulla. You may or may not be familiar with that name. Sulla was perhaps like the most bloody, vicious general ever known. Like he was constantly employing like execution lists in the Roman in the pre-Roman Empire times when it was still a republic. The dude was a giant sadistic asshole. So he existed in those times. He later had to deal politically with Julius Caesar and Pompey. He was famous in his own time for being incorruptible and being immune to bribes, which was a constant thing back then. And it was in a political landscape that had constant corruption, coercion, manipulation going on. In the civil war between Pompey and Caesar, Cato chose Pompey's side. Pompey lost, and Cato was given command of what was left of the army at the time. Cato believed that Caesar wanting to start the civil war that ended up in the creation of the empire was to establish himself as a dictator and become a tyrant. Cato understood that Caesar was empowered by his policy of forgiving his enemies. In a stronghold based in the desert, Cato worked to secure the well-being and escape of his soldiers and the townspeople that were there. Once assured that they were accounted for, Cato made the decision to end his life to stop Caesar from having the opportunity to forgive him and cement his power, because the idea was that if Caesar can forgive Cato the Younger, which was in his own time considered to be this incorruptible most like just ethical person, that it means therefore that Caesar is probably too, and Cato knew that. Seneca was a statesman, playwright, tutor to the Emperor Nero, who you also probably recognize, a true psychopath. Nero, if you don't remember, would do shit like be told that, well, you can't build a bridge long enough to cross this giant river that was in Rome. And Nero was like, fucking hold my beer, and then ordered the Roman Navy to put all of their military boats side by side and then put a platform on top of it, and then fucking giggled like an idiot while he was riding his horse back and forth across this giant fuck off boat bridge that he created. He would do crap like proclaim himself to be the reincarnation of Zeus. He would make his favorite horse, a senator, and give it like a golden trowel and shit like that. Really, really well adjusted stuff. I don't think I've ever been here for a philosophical discussion. Very interesting, very into it. Good. We should just totally stab Caesar. Mean girls. Tree. True, based and true. So Seneca was accused of a crime, and he was exiled. During his exile, he sent letters back and forth with his mother because there was no cell phones back then, so he couldn't text, trying to console her. That letter is known as the Consolation of Helvia, and was purportedly the first time that anyone in exile sent a letter to their family, basically saying, like, hey, it's cool. I am, you don't worry about me. I am totally fine. I will be able to make this situation work for me. I will be able to improve myself through this situation. He was sent to a horrible, shitty, awful island that was just like horrible weather literally all the time. There was basically like the living conditions were incredibly bad. There was no like arable land whatsoever. It was basically like just a giant fuck off rock that he was put on, like one of the worst places that you can go to. That the exiled person consoled the person that they were grieving. Seneca came back to Rome. Nero by that point was truly psychotic, and turned against many of the people that were closest to him, including Seneca. Nero ordered that Seneca was executed on like a false accusation, or what was believed to be a false accusation. Seneca said that he wanted the opportunity to take his own life. Nero accepted it. Seneca's last words were encouragement to his friends and family to remember who he was trying to be as a Stoic, and to not be sad for him that he is losing his life, but that he wants them to remember who he was trying to be, and to try to model that in their own lives. That the emperor can take your life, but that he can never they can never take your freedom. .jpg. No cell phones. Fuck off rock. What's the zip code? I think it's 42069, if I remember right. Like I said, a truly fucked rock. Musonius Rufus was later named the Roman Socrates, was a schoolmaster for Stoicism. His teaching methods focused on practical application for the most part, backed by theory. He taught students proper argumentation, gender equality, education, fears and desires, lawsuits, occupations, marriage, proper diet, raising kids, and more. Epictetus, he later freed Epictetus, who became his pupil, who then became his own schoolmaster. Epictetus was raised in slavery. His name literally means acquired. For reasons, like I had mentioned before, his leg was broken by the person that owned him, permanently stopping him from being able to walk unassisted or without a cane. Rufus became aware of Epictetus and admired the way that Epictetus tried to just make it one day at a time, despite the truly fucked position that he was put in, and was released by his master to Musonius, becoming his pupil and a schoolmaster, like I mentioned. Later in life, he took in and raised abandoned children. Marcus Aurelius was the adopted son of Antonius Pius, a Roman emperor. At an early age, Marcus was attracted to Stoic philosophy. He developed a reputation for attentiveness, duty. While he was on military campaigns as an emperor, he wrote what was called the Meditations, originally named to himself. It was a personal journal that he maintained constantly. It contained frequent reminders to constantly practice self-awareness, to be self-disciplined, and to be compassionate, even if as an emperor you could not be ever sure, unless you were very good friends with a person, if anyone had your best interests or the best interests of the giant empire that you're currently trying to keep together in mind. Okay, constant manipulation, constant exploitation, constant trying to get him to influence their positions, to give them even more grossly inflated riches, stuff like that. Marcus died to disease, 59. His last words were, "Don't cry for me. Think instead about how to help the people that are still in worse positions." Niccolo Machiavelli states that Marcus Aurelius, Machiavelli had very interesting opinions on a lot of shit. Okay, and I heavy emphasis on the interesting. But he did say that he believed that Marcus Aurelius was the only emperor to have both lived and died as an honorable person, trying from the very beginning to use his position to improve the quality of life of other people, which was what? There were loads of people in the Roman Empire. He's considered the last of 5 good emperors, the closest living example to Plato's philosopher king. So these accounts are bare bones. They don't properly represent who they were and what they believed in. Thankfully, at least some Stoic texts survive. The overwhelming majority of this shit that's coming out of my mouth is gone forever. There is a possibility that more is going to get untombed or recovered or miraculously appear and be reverse engineerable using modern AI technologies and specialized archaeological equipment in order to try to find more material on it. But what we have is the only thing that has been put to print. And although some of it has been influenced since the 1700 years from the time that they were originally out, they're comprehensive enough and there is enough in them to act as kind of like a buoy or like a lighthouse to consistently reorient yourself towards or away from, in the case of you getting too close towards the lighthouse and therefore you're going to hit rocks. I'm going to put in chat a few names. 3 of these links are still good. These links are also old. I haven't updated these in a while. The discourses by Epictetus you should be able to pick up anywhere. The only books that you want, hi Flisklit, the only books that the only things that you want to watch out for in the Epictetus discourses book is making sure that it includes the Enchiridion, the handbook. Almost all of them do, but some don't. There's that. And these are the personal books that I own that are like literally to my left and behind me on my work desk. The discourses link it says all the same shit. I'm gonna give it to you just so you can see. Probably get a version of discourses other than this one. I don't know why the cover art for this version of the book that I bought apparently like 6 years ago, it has been changed to Illustrated Guide to Samurai History and Culture. I'm sure that it's interesting, but the description still matches. The description and the title still matches, so I don't know what's going on with that one. But yeah, just find a copy of the discourses by Epictetus with the Enchiridion in it, and you should be good. The translations are not going to vary all that much. Or take a risk. You know, is Amazon famously free returns? So if you get a book that is not a green cover, that just fucking send it back. If you get sent an Illustrated Guide to Samurai History and Culture instead. I'm not affiliated with these guys, okay? I don't get commission by putting these books in front of you. Just wanted to mention that out loud. All right, let me check to make sure that there isn't more questions in the Telegram here. Okay, we're good to keep cruising. Quote time. Ask yourself these questions. What's my opinion of myself? How do I present myself to the world? Am I prudent? Am I self-controlled? Do I present myself as someone who's prepared for every emergency? Am I conscious that I know nothing? Do I go to my teacher the way that I go to the oracles, which is basically like you go to an oracle in order to try to figure out if, you know, Susie is going to accept my date request, or, you know, that Jimothy is gonna, you know, is gonna flake out when we try to go to like the Roman footballs or whatever. You know what I mean? Do I go to the oracles ready to obey? Do I try to take their constructive suggestions to heart? Or do I go as a petty parser of words to learn some history to understand books I didn't understand before, so I might show myself to have an advantage before others? Or am I just trying to learn this stuff in order to try to look like I know something, to seem impressive to other people? I honestly thought you were saying epic titties. Maybe I am. maybe I am. If I ever do say epic titties, please let me know. There was a guy named Heraclitus. Not a Stoic, but I'm gonna type the name in chat. Heraclitus. There was a long time that I avoided spreading quotes by Heraclitus, I think, for reasons that are self-evident. Let me take a swig of my coffee here. There's perhaps the most important thing that you recognize before you begin practicing Stoicism seriously. We're getting to the heavy hitting parts now. Is that you can no longer think fully the way that you did before. You can't think the way that most people commonly think now. You can't act as most people commonly act, or as you fully used to. You can't speak as most commonly speak, or the way that you do now fully. You can't behave as the way that most people commonly behave, or yourself fully. Necessarily by trying to practice Stoicism, by trying to get mileage out of it, you are retraining your brain. You are rewiring aspects of it. And because you are taking what you value from external things, from nice things that are outside of yourself, and you are taking that locus of value and you're internalizing it. And so it necessarily, because you are refocusing your internal version, your vision of who you are from things outside of you or what you own internally, there has to be give there, at least a little bit at first. Whatever I tell you from here on out is going to hopefully give you some kind of insight to the world that will allow you to align yourself with it. Who you are will become your opportunity. Who you are will become your profession, your canvas, your greatest source of strength. You begin by coming to terms with the fact that the cultural influences, experiences, upbringing, media, relationships, family, belief systems, wants, advice, expectations, dreams, hopes, and other things have molded the way that your mind processes the information it gets and your current worldview right at this moment at your phone screen. To understand who you are at your core and to bring out what Stoicism suggests that it will, you have to be aware of potential conflicts, misalignments with the things that's influenced you probably from the very start, since you started thinking in terms of me or I or what I want or who am I. Don't expect that you can immediately change who you are. One day, you can consider yourself to have, and be a person that can act, think, behave, choose independent of whether you're promised something good or you can escape something bad. If that's your intention. But without conscious practice, without self-awareness, it can't be accomplished. There has to be mileage there. There has to be a little bit of give and take. After practicing for a while, you'll see what the influences of Stoicism are on your day-to-day. There are many people out there right now, because there's been a resurgence recently, given the fucked up state of the world, in the idea that there's a philosophy or a way of life out there that allows you to function independently of that. There's some that just appreciate a little bit of it and apply just a little bit of it without holding it to be their core belief system. In my own case, I made the decision from the beginning to make Stoicism my fundamental philosophy. It affects literally everything that I think, say, and do. From the time that I wake up to the time that I go to bed, I am thinking in terms of, am I trying to do the right thing? What is going on in me at this moment, and how do I course correct if I feel like I'm being like it's problematic that I'm thinking something or feeling something that is making me turn against someone, or that's making me depend my peace of mind on XYZ thing happening or not happening. So all my advice, all of my suggestions, all my examples stem from there. So Epic Titties and Heraclitus walk into a room. I'll see myself out. No, come back. Understanding your fears and your desires and how to better control them depends on identifying what their purpose is, what their nature is, and where they come from. The Stoics believed that there was a rational, organizing, generative force, and this is like the OG belief. This is like the term is orthodox. This is what the original Stoics believed. Okay, I'll explain what I believe soon, but this is their position. That there was this rational, organized, all-pervasive force that existed in the universe, that exists in the universe, comprising the universe itself and everything in it. This force they refer to as pneuma. We would understand it as like just energy, closely representing closely resembling the modern scientific principles, at least. All things are said to be comprised of this pneuma at various degrees of tension or complexity. At the lowest degree of tension is things that are inanimate, like rocks and dirt. The second lowest is what's living but isn't sentient, such as like grass, trees, and flowers. The third thing is what's living and sentient, like fish, birds, and other animals. The fourth and highest type of tension or living thing that exists is what is living, what is alive, sentient, and rational, and that's a human being. Human beings are arranged with all four levels of complexity, and that we're living, we're sentient, we're rational, but only humans, as far as we know, unless there are aliens out there, in which case, we'll talk about that when we get there. When aliens do be discovered and all that, we'll have that conversation in Stoicism Stream 13, whatever that is. Oh, watch it come true. But only humans are irrational. Only humans have the ability to reason. All living things have this idea in Stoicism, in Orthodox Stoicism, called self-love, which is a compulsive drive, proclivity, whatever fancy word you want to use, towards what's perceived to be helpful to you as a thing that exists, is living, and needs to eat, shit, and sleep. And like a drive to avoid things that causes those things not to be possible. Basically, like other things hunting you, or disease, or things like that. In other words, any sentient thing has a desire ingrained in them to increase the chances that it's going to live, and avoid what seems to decrease those chances from happening. For all creatures that are sentient and living but not rational, including humans, this manifests itself as a lifelong pursuit for shelter, wanting to be temperate, like carefully managing your body temperature, food, water, and banging. And having the sex, my wife.
I'm a clown.
Hang on. I'm taking a drink of coffee. Give me a second. So, the fact that we have the ability to reason means that, unlike every other living thing on the entire planet, we have a higher tier of demands, of a higher tier of needs, alongside making sure that we can eat, sleep, and, reproduce. The namesake for this rational element is reason. It gives us the capacity to know that it's there. It gives us new needs associated with it that we're only vaguely aware of and are only very rarely ever taught about. And the ability to think of ways to meet these new demands. Failing to meet these new needs, this higher set of needs given to us by our ability to reason, whether or not we have our basic needs taken care of, makes us miserable. Every act of war, every bit of cruelty, every situation where someone or something is manipulated with bad intentions. Greed, vanity, hatred follows from erroneous applications of reason, that we're using our ability to reason incorrectly. Alternatively, accurate, appropriate courses of action that meets those needs makes us feel fulfilled. It makes us feel peaceful. It makes us feel satisfied. It makes us feel motivated. And you might understandably ask why. Thank you so much for the Pepsi, sweetie. I appreciate it. I want to say hi to Shumi. Say hi to Shumi. Say hi. She's here. She just gave me a Pepsi. Didn't not even ask for. How wonderful is that?
Hi everyone. I'm not allowed to stay, so I'll see you later.
You're allowed to stay. I just said that I'm gonna be talking about really heavy shit. I'm gonna be really focused. You can stay a little bit. I'm kind of fucking banging these concepts out for sure. Oh, we're doing good. We're doing good. So due to the human design by the powers that be, aka what the Stoics refer to as capital N nature, each thing that exists in the universe is associated with whatever quality defines it. For birds, this is flying. For fish, it's swimming. For humans, it's how well we reason. The use of reason reinforces what's called the virtues, which are characteristics that are beneficial to us as humans, as a social and rational creature. Inappropriate use of reason, of trying to do the things that I mentioned before, manipulating others, being greedy, being vain, hating other people, causes us to feel the complete opposites. It reinforces vices. It makes us vicious. Self-love is the driving force, compelling all of us to satisfy our needs, our basic needs, as just an animal, just as a thing that's alive. The virtues are what help us as a social and rational animal, and self-love is conducive to that. Virtue is necessary for a human being to flourish, to achieve something called eudaimonia, which basically is the excellence of the soul, a good life, happiness, being peaceful, being tranquil. Self-love is necessary for a human being as far as it makes sure that we do things that help us live, so that we avoid, it wouldn't exactly be conducive if we acted like we were wearing the berserker armor from Berserk and feel no pain or just, to have like no self-preservation instinct at all. There is a point to that, but it should always be subservient to reason, to irrational aspects. It's possible to live, obviously, because people do it all the time, without deliberately exercising virtue or resisting your vices. It's not possible to live a fully impulsive, animalistic existence, literally entirely absent of the use of reason. Even if it seems like some people do, it's impossible. They still have this fourth need, this higher hierarchy of need that influences all the other ones in the way that other animal species do. Through the mutual possession of the faculty of reason, Stoics argued that all human beings are citizens of a world community. It drives us towards one another to form communities of our own, to refer to ourselves and one another as having this or that virtue or vice according to other people's observations. We all naturally want to be thought of as a good person. We all naturally want to be thought of as being valuable by people that we look up to or people that we care about. That stems from that fourth hierarchy, that fourth need. Banging concepts. I agree. Laugh. Human desires and fears are different compositionally compared to other animal species. The desire to have enough to drink, eat, sleep produces their or reproduces there, the fear of their absence is also there. In addition, we want to be known by other people to be compassionate. We want others to think that we're trustworthy. We want others to think that we're courageous or patient or humble. We fear being thought of as being vain by other people, of being selfish by others, of being vengeful, cowardly, cruel. None of us want to want other people to think that of us, regardless of what people say outside. In all cases, nobody wants to be thought of as being shitty. Okay, nobody wants that. It's natural to not want that. We just have to steer what we feel on account of those premises with our ability to reason. But the reason why we feel that way is because we have this hierarchy of needs. The faculty of reason is accompanied by the ability to have foresight and to make predictions about what the end result of our desires or fears could be. I'm gonna check the comment section here. Okay, good. We're still cruising. How's everybody doing? Doing good? I think you're doing good. I think you're just kind of vibing. So if we come to terms with this thing that's in us, this rational quality, our moment-to-moment experience is shaped by it. And so, because of all the counterintuitive influences that we're getting bombarded with on a day-to-day basis of buy this thing, look this way, be thought of as this thing, get this profession, live in this specific geographical area, that sort of thing, this uneven mixture of what we experience on a day-to-day basis messes with us. It confuses us. It confuses our ability to satisfy these rational needs that we have. It makes us imbalanced. It makes what we're supposed to be focusing on, who we're supposed to think ourselves to be in a moment by moment basis, imbalanced. It makes us shift our priorities all over the fucking place according to what seems to be happening on a moment by moment basis. So none of us like to feel uncertain or imbalanced. So a lot of us, understandably, just try to do whatever we can to stifle those feelings, to suppress the fears that are associated with not meeting those things right now, without acquiring those things this minute. A person can go to great efforts over an extraordinarily long period of time to try to get money and status and power, to try to ensure that they will never have to go without these things that they want, or that they will suddenly stop feeling fear or disenchantment, or however you want to frame it, because they have so many things and so much money that it stops becoming a problem. But all you have to do is take a cursory glance at the people that are enormously well off, very well known in whatever spaces that we respect or think about or frequent, to see that it doesn't stop. It doesn't. So you have to identify the source. And by identifying the source, you can better understand how to help yourself resist the worst aspects of it and try to overcome those aspects in order to improve yourself. And then at the very worst, you're more resistant to the idea of, well, I only got 10 likes on this post instead of 1,000. And instead, you start thinking in terms of, okay, well, I might have only got 10 likes, but the content of it is good. And if it helped those 10 people out in some way, then I achieved my core goal of trying to be a good person in that specific moment. Welcome in, Obes. Is those the pin? Thanks, friend. Gretchen Wieners would be proud. I love wieners. So, I hope that Gretchen Wieners. Let me check. I just wanted an opportunity to say I love wieners. Live in front of a studio audience. Give me a second. Oh, Mean Girls. Yes, of course. You're saying X36. I love wieners. Let's take another drink of coffee. How is the audio balance, chat? I asked at the very beginning, but I think more people are in here now. Some of you are here now that were here yesterday when I tried to apply quote-unquote audio improvements that were shitty and they were bad. And I understood what people were saying when they said that it made me sound weird, because it absolutely did. I don't know how I could sound sharp and muddy at the same time, but believe me, when I watched the VOD, I understood. I knew exactly what you meant. So it should be exactly the way that it was before. And if you notice literally no difference between now and past streams, that means that I successfully flipped whatever was on or off that I needed to in order to get me back to where it was. So the desire to be well known, to be materially wealthy, incentivizes celebrities to do things like spend $200,000 on a diamond and gold watch with their face on it. The desire to be feared, to control your community, compels generals in parts of the world to overthrow their government. In a claimed desire for like a relatively quiet environment, a prominent business owner might purchase multiple mansions, models, spend tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars to try to maintain an unsustainable ideal of beauty. These are things that have happened and will continue happening forever because of this hierarchy of needs not being met. Ara, welcome in, Tiarna. But you guys don't have a 200k watch with your face on it? I'm doing this wrong. I'm just imagining Leah very slowly pulling back her wrist with the $200,000 watch with her face on it off the desk, and then underneath the desk, putting her other hand on it. That's funny. So these examples I just gave you are the most extreme versions of what I'm talking about. But they don't need to be extreme for you to notice this happening in people, in yourself and others every day. Of being envious of power, wealth, fame, beauty. These imbalances, their consequences come about from not being sure of what is or is not in our control, and to what degree any of it should be valued, if anything at all. As a practicing Stoic, it's imperative that you and I work to understand that distinction. It influences your ability to parse what to desire, what to fear, when, where, and how much. It will make the greatest difference as to whether you're just going to wake up and be fine, or wake up and feel less than fine. Whether when it matters, you're feeling courageous, or if you are afraid and you want to do everything in your power to try to get out of the situation, whether you're patient or impulsive. We assign value according to our specific, unique qualities as a person in two spheres. No matter this applies to every single one of us, but we all do these two things. We all think in terms of these two things. We act in terms of these two things. Things within our power, and things that are not, the things that are outside of our power. Things that are in our control, things that are not in our control. Things that are in our control. And this is gonna sound spicy, so fucking buckle in if your Secret Labs Omega chair has a buckle. And if so, why? Includes our desires, our fears, our opinions, our thoughts, and our judgments. A lot of these may seem like they will never be in our control, but they can be influenced. They can absolutely be influenced. It all comes with practice. Just keep that idea in mind for now. Just kind of hold on to it. Things outside of our control include our body, possessions, reputations, roles. Things like money, power, and money, power, and status. Our reputation. Whether we try to hold on to being a virtuous person, and the peace and fulfillment that comes out of that depends on our managing the things that are inside of our control and the things that are outside of it. Maslow's hierarchy of need, attention. I'm not super familiar. This might sound crazy, but I know of what Maslow's hierarchy of needs is. I'm not specifically referring to that, but everything, you know, if it lines up, it's probably for a reason. When this idea is explained to you, when this idea was explained to me, we seem to intuitively understand it, although there is an amount of resistance that's there at the same time. This resistance to the idea that these things are in our control and are not in our control is because we live in a world where it's heavily suggested to us on a daily, minute by minute basis that the keys to being happy, satisfied, content, and peace lies at least partially or even in the majority part in things that are outside of us. These keys are suggested to be the next big thing, such as a new car, a $4,000 gaming computer, I wish, a new and improved face, like plastic surgery, slimmer body, a bigger house, a 2-week vacation, a cushy office job, and so on. We've lived all of our lives under these influences. Let me see how I'm doing on time. Holy shit, it's almost been 2 hours already. Jesus, are you guys okay? Are you guys alright? I didn't realize it was been 2 hours. What the shit? Almost 2 hours. 1 hour and 40 minutes if you count the 10 minutes that I make you guys wait while I make sure that nothing is breaking in the background. Take a nap, you guys get back, same kinda. Ultimately ending up more in psych and human behavior. Let me check to make sure no other comments have gotten into the tailgram here. Let's take a look. If it wants to load. Okay. My veil of Maya, the illusion that life is real, important, permanent, is super thin. Sometimes I see my life in too much of a higher perspective to the point where I cannot find the will to care about the minuscule things in life that others care about. I'm constantly aware that we're on a rock, hurling through space at 30,000 miles per hour through a universal void as spiritual beings, piloting meat suits, and I'm supposed to care about politics. I'm supposed to care about carbs or getting enough sleep or Kardashians. It's honestly a little lonely being this way. I've experienced that too. Marcus Aurelius definitely is somebody that you should look into. The Meditations by Marcus Aurelius is a book that you can pick up in about 1,000 different translations. Marcus was a Roman emperor, one of the 5 good emperors. I'm repeating this because I don't know when you came in. And he was living and in control of the Roman Empire at the height of it, which means that if he wanted to, he could order unlimited amounts of wine, like literal boatloads of wine on an Amazon, 2-day business express shipping basis to him directly. He could, if he wanted to, sleep with literally anyone at any time, at any reason, or in any amount, or any amount of people. He could, if he wanted to, exercise his power to take 1 million lives, or to help 1 million people. The negative, the things that we deal with, that we have to take into account, never go away, are never diminished. No matter how powerful we are, no matter how wealthy we are, how much reputation we have, how well or how many other people think of us. It is important as a Stoic to try to maintain as often as you can a third party perspective, or what they refer to at the time as like a view from above. So when you're experiencing something that makes you uncomfortable, or that is unpleasant in some way, then imagine yourself, like literally imagine yourself. You don't have to close your eyes or anything. You could just do it. Like you could just daydream it. Like imagine like a camera in like a third person game, and imagine orienting the camera above you so that you're looking down onto the top of your own head. Then move the camera out to you're like, I don't know, like 5 houses in any direction. Like you're looking at your house from above outside of it. Then move the camera further out to look at the whole town. Then further out the state, if you have a state. Then further out to the continent, and then to the whole world. Then to space, then the universe. There are countless numbers of us. Well, not literally countless. Functionally countless. There are many of us. There are so many of us that are all experiencing these different things. It is important for you to try to think of yourself as a part of the universe. Because you are. You literally are. A component that is aware of itself. And you have certain proclivities, you have specific characteristics that allow you, through the ability to reason, to understand or at least visualize that. And because you can visualize that, that means that you are becoming an element that is able to steer itself. Now, you're still affected by things outside of yourself. You are still, like you said in this comment on the Telegram, you're still part of the physical world. And because you're part of the physical world, you have to necessarily react in like a Full Metal Alchemist kind of way with other things that are interacting with you. But you have this aspect of yourself on the inside that is capable of operating independent of that. And because you have this thing inside of you that is unique as a property to you being a component of the universe, you should focus a lot of your effort, a lot of your uptime to trying to understand why that is and how to come to terms with it and how to make use of it and how it can benefit you according to your design by whatever the powers that be. Whether everything happens purely because of cause and effect, we should be thankful that we have this capability to be self-directing. Or whether the conventional idea of God is real and true, and there is an omnipotent entity that has given us this aspect. We are capable of making our own choices and self-improving because of this thing that's been given to us. Or the orthodox Stoic position, which is the idea that the universe is just chilling. The universe is just chilling. It's given its various parts, the basic building blocks in order to be self-sustaining. And that things are coming into the world and leaving the world literally all the time as part of this constant state of self-renewal. Whatever you believe, however you believe it, you are still able to reclaim yourself back or claim yourself for the first time, even if you also feel that you're on a rock hurling through space at 30,000 miles per hour through a universal void. The Stoics never state whether there's a heaven. They never say whether you are they never say anything definitive about what happens when we pass away. They do say that you have these properties that are unique to you as a human being that allows you to fulfill what appears to be this hierarchy of needs that you have in order to feel happiness, in order to feel peace, and that it is possible to get yourself to a point where even if you are put in an awful position by the circumstances that happen to be happening to you or around you as a meat person, that's what matters most anyway. And that if there is like a heaven or an afterlife or whatever, that you will then become something else that the universe happens to need, but that you are still needed. Have ordered some books. Awesome, Melkor. If you have any questions anytime, I am a Discord away. It's almost impossible to bother me. I worked as a personal care aide in a behavioral school So unless you find a way to bite me or to physically headbutt me, and even then, there's almost nothing that you could do to bother me or irritate me in any sense. It might take a bit because I'm close to hitting my mental maximum bandwidth recently with all the amount of the torrential downpour of shit that I'm trying to stay on top of with my new job and stuff like that. But I will eventually get back to you. We're all poo-poos, all PBs, but all PBs are never always poo-poos. It's because they're the biological situation that I am not even remotely qualified to answer. Next question. That's such a deep question. Why is this stuck? Oh. Okay. In order for us to escape this cycle of constantly trying to get things outside ourselves and finding and associating our self-worth or our self-value with those things outside of ourselves, we need to identify how that's happening, why that's happening. Like literally, like what is the process? What in our gray matter is causing that to happen? And how that matches up with the patterns, the mechanics of that make up the rest of the natural order of things. Then we make a choice to either continue thinking of things the way that we always have before that point and everything that that entails, or we try to adjust the way that we think about things. To become a Stoic, or to even take pieces of what Stoicism is, not adopting Stoicism, not becoming a practicing Stoic, not subscribing to it, just doing basically like a fucking energy drink sampler, okay, or going to like a wine testing, okay, whether you're considering practicing it long term or you only little bits and pieces to see if it's your thing after the stream ends or whatever it happens to be. You want to choose the latter option. You want to try to adjust the way that you become accustomed to thinking about things. This is the first step. It's the most important one. Every other Stoic practice, every phrase, every maxim, every action, every habit that you form depends in some degree on that idea. Your aim is to be able to one day frame things that are happening to you or inside of you from the perspective of the overall order of things. Or in other words, from the perspective of nature, capital N, nature. What we choose to value, why, and how deeply determines our reactions to things that are received, that are given to us, that are present, or disappear, or degrade, deteriorate, are gone, buried. The barometer that we have to try to go by is our control, our will, our judgments. Everything that falls under our internal judgments is appropriately considered ours, and our responsibility to try to cultivate. Everything that falls outside that sphere is not ours. It's not something that we can own. We can do everything in our power to try to maneuver things the way that we would like to see it. Which in Stoicism, and we haven't gotten here yet, and might not this stream, but for sure will the next Stoicism stream, is called a preferred indifferent, which sounds like an oxymoron, but that's how the philosophy is. You'll understand if you continue down this road, what that means and how. Like there's also another term I'm gonna throw at you called rational emotions. There's lots of shit like that in Stoicism, and once you understand like the circumference around that, kind of like the spider web that I was talking about before, you'll get what it means and how it's not necessarily like, okay, well that sounds stupid. Emotions aren't rational. Hold my beer. Everything that happens outside that sphere is not in our ownership. You could try to maneuver things how you want to see them, but you have to draw a line after that. You can do the best that you can with good intentions to try to make XYZ thing appear the way that you would like to see it. But whether it ultimately does, depending on causes and effects that you have no real control over, is not up to you, and you have to stop yourself from depending on your peace of mind on the actual end results as far as you can. Obes asked, Stoic, can you review the concept of enough in Stoicism? It's something I remind myself a lot. Not sure if you answered or noticed. Sorry, hang on. Did he? Where was that? Can you review? I did miss that. Thank you, Bridget, and I'm sorry, Obes, for not spotting that. The end state of being a Stoic is something called the Sage. Very, very few, if any of us Stoics have ever become sages. It is phenomenally hard, just like most things in life. If it were easy, everyone would do it. But the idea is that even despite us not likely to become sages, we can get ourselves to a point where us trying to do the right thing, trying to identify and faithfully execute on choices, spoken words, and actions to try to get us to whatever end result we're trying to get to, and then drawing the line after that is enough. You trying to do the right thing to be a good person is in itself enough. Whether I succeed in getting streaming to be part-time or even full-time in the extreme long term is not up to me. I can't force things, no matter how much I kick and scream, which I'm not, but just as an example, no matter how much I kick and scream to try to force things to be that way. There's no guarantee that I'm ever going to do this part-time. And that's not defeatism. Defeatism is believing that I will never get to that point because of some aspect of myself that's insufficient, or that I don't have the ability or capacity to be that engaging to get me to a point where I'm doing this part-time or full-time. Whether I actually do depends on however many number of people deciding to take a chance on one of the adverts that they spam out on Discord or Twitter. I'm not calling it X. Or Threads for the 4 people that go on Threads. Or Blue Sky for the 20 people that go on Blue Sky. Or the 800,000 Discords that I post to. And then they have to stay long enough to get attracted to the idea of watching me more. If that specific slice, that maybe 1 to 2 minutes in which they're consuming my content, that they actually stay. And then from there, I cannot control whether they hit the follow button or subscribe or donate or buy my merch or subscribe to me on YouTube. And then from there, them staying around long enough that the further thing that I can't control is that I can't control other people going onto Twitch or YouTube and happening to see my stream and happening to get some idea from the 80 by 120 PNG that I'm worth taking a chance on. All of these things are not in my control. I can influence parts of it. I could try to come up with a cool sounding title or something funny, because you know the Zoomers or the Gen Alphas love the memes, as the cool kids say in their street vernacular. I could try to throw on like the model Sussy, you know, because everybody loves the anime girls and all that. But if I try to faithfully do the best I can with what resources I have and the time that I have to give to it, to be a good person and to try to improve the quality of life of even one person that comes into my streams, that has to be enough. Because I don't own anything outside of that. So hopefully that helps. It's also longevity. It's luck, longevity, and work. True and base. If you will a storm to stop, it's not going to stop until it happens on its own. If you try to ask a sickness that you have to stop, it's not going to hear you. If you aim to be a millionaire by 40, that money is not going to manifest itself and make its way to you. If you try to live forever, it's unlikely that you're going to do so unless you're Elon Musk and you put your brain in a robot body. We have to focus on what is in our control to try to become the best person that we can be with the time, resources, and capabilities that we have, and let all the rest happen the way that it necessarily will. As it happens, and this isn't what's important in this context, but as it happens, thinking that way increases the chances that you're going to do the sorts of things that are going to make you conventionally successful anyway. Because if people believe or feel that you are genuine, that you have a property that is unique to you, which we all do, we might just not believe it or see it right away, and they stick around because they feel that from you, then it does increase the chances that they'll do things like follow and subscribe. But whether they do those things cannot become what's important. But they will often, because of these behaviors that you're training in yourself or retraining, it's likely that they will anyway. Borrowing from personal experience. I'm gonna live forever until I get bored. My unique trait is my fat ass. I ain't gonna argue with you on that one. I ain't gonna argue with that one, bud. That's true. That's true. You're right. You're right on that one. Up top. Up top, baby. We can reasonably argue that we can influence how these things impact us to a degree. We can take actions such as like putting on a raincoat when it's raining outside. We can go to the doctors, have the illness check out, or any whatever sickness we're having checked out, and we can take medication the way we're directed, how we're supposed to. We can balance our checkbooks, we can make Excel spreadsheets, we can make business plans. We can strengthen our body by exercise, we can get the best possible care available to us, we can maintain a well-balanced diet. But in each of these cases, they are dealing with something outside of ourselves. We are the reacting party, and we are trying to become the acting party, the active agent, instead of a reactive agent. What is in our control is our judgments. How we choose to act on those judgments. In other words, it's not the things that are outside of us that should concern us the most in and of themselves, but our choices and behavior about them. The choices that we make in reference to our roles that are a true responsibility. We can influence things outside of us as far as we can, but the end result is composed of any number of influences that are independent. However powerful, however influential, however well off we are. Paraphrasing Epictetus, we are concerned, the things that we're concerned about are indifference outside of ourselves. But how we use them isn't. How we try to make use of those things is not indifferent. Every situation, every single situation, positive or negative, is a source of training. It's fuel for us to become virtuous people. And in order to understand how we do this, we should think of ourselves as fulfilling roles in relation to the situation. Way back earlier in the conversation, we talked about having your role be a good person, being a stoic, having a core goal, and everything else kind of appended to that. It's success. Achieving that is entirely within our control, entirely in our power. It's a goal that begins in ourselves and it resolves in ourselves, and it's independent of any external results, seemingly good or bad. This doesn't believe in walking away from things, people that don't serve or do good by them, or do they stay in hopes of change or support with their wisdom? Funnily enough, they did account for people that are unwilling to, just for whatever reason, for reasons that only they know, that are unwilling to be reasonable. That they have decided that XYZ is the way that they feel about something, and heaven or hell, they ain't deviating literally at all. As a Stoic, you are trying to be a role model for people. You are not. Again, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. You're not depending your peace of mind off of whether people are trying like notice that you're being a role model and are inspired by that, but that is something that you are trying to project out into the world. Whether people learn from your example is not up to you. It's up to them. They have their own self-directing properties, their own hierarchy of needs, their own ability to reason that they are ignoring or stifling by choosing to be shitty to you or other people. In the cases where they seem to be receptive to advice that you have, to suggestions that you have that are made in good faith, is up to them. If they're not receptive, then you call it. you make a good faith attempt, and I'm not talking about like, okay, well, they're not listening to me. Like, this person is my friend. Just as an example, this person is my friend. They're going through some stuff. They're starting to become shitty towards me and other people. And the first instance in which I'm trying to help them through it, they rebuff me. They act like an asshole towards me. That doesn't mean that you call it right then and you give up. It means that you do your best to try to help them. And then if in the end, they do everything in their power to resist that, you have to think of yourself after that point, and you have to pull back. If they open up to you and they say, what are your thoughts on these things? Or they apologize, you don't need to hit them with the life advice right off. You can suggest to them, hey, I know you went through something. I know that this thing that is between us, that things have been like a little bit rough. I believe that we can overcome it. I believe that you and I can be better by overcoming it. If you are interested in trying, let me know. And then after that point is when you just let them decide. Imagine it like a big fucking heavy object that has handles on it that you can only lift if the other person also lifts. And the act of them acknowledging it and internalizing this shit is at least halfway on them. Because there's no point in you trying to move it around on your own if you just can't. So some thoughts on provoked violence? In those cases where a person has decided that they are not, that they have, by them trying to enact violence on another person, they have basically thrown away the aspect of themselves that define them as a human being. They are not being a social creature because they are trying to inflict harm on another person. They are not being rational because it's senseless to be violent to other people if there's an opportunity, unless it's in self-defense, which may be what you're asking. Self-defense is absolutely warranted. If there is no other choice, if you can't reasonably work through a situation with someone who is prepared to be violent towards you, then that also represents an opportunity for you to overcome your fear of being deleted and trying to protect other people. If you can't help other people escape, if the situation makes it impossible for you to navigate yourself out of it, and you in that moment identify using the best information that you have and what resources are in front of you, you try to protect people. That's what you do. And I lived this thing that I'm describing to you at least every other day when I worked as a personal care aide in the behavioral school that I talked about. It was not uncommon because we had 50%. We were 50% over capacity, and we had 30%. 2/3 of the staff that we were supposed to. We were a third down, is what I was trying to say. The students were not stupid. They knew how much physical power they could exert over the situation. All it took, often, was one kid, but basically physically an adult, to look at another crossways and then them to fucking throw down and fist fight. There was a time where it was basically me and another teacher in like the grade 11 or 12 high school part of this school. And the students developed a respect-based relationship with me, but importantly, not with each other. Okay, some of them just fucking hated each other, and there was no convincing them. There was no amount of role modeling that I could give them over enough time to stop them sometimes from like going to town on each other violently. Okay, let me rephrase that. Okay, I know what I was trying to say. Holy shit, Stoic. You know what I mean. Like, trying to take each other out. But not on like a date, like with their fists and teeth. And they would throw down. And I remember this moment where we had a code word, like an emergency code word that we were supposed to scream. And us saying that code word was supposed to cause, like, we will go downtown on each other every night, stop them getting wet. True. There's a code word that we were supposed to scream, and this code word was intended to only be shouted out if it was like you were in danger, you were about to get physically injured, or other students were about to get very seriously hurt. I screamed this code word at least 10 times, which in the grand scheme of things doesn't sound like very much. But when you are the only thing that's coming between two physical, functionally physical adults from injuring each other, breaking things, breaking each other, and the only other person in the room is like a teeny tiny teacher, it feels like an eternity. In that situation, I was thinking to myself that what I need to do is take the I out of it. I am put in that situation not because there's a god or an entity or collection of entities that is trying to punish me. I am here in this situation due to these different causes and effects that have amounted to this. I am put in this position trying to physically restrain this dude that's grade 12 that is bigger than me from harming others and me accidentally. And by me trying to handle this the right way, regardless of what happens to me, literally no one and nothing can take that away from me, even if I'm very badly harmed. And that got me through the situation because it was, like I said, dude, back to back, that code word, 10 seconds is an eternity when it's not like D&D where every action equates to 6 seconds. A student can throw a punch every second. So 10 code word screams is 10 punches, or 20 punches if you include the 10 that the other students are throwing back. The word was true or help. That's why I haven't done bondage in a long time. Yeah. So there's nuances to this type of thinking that you'll learn to recognize and account for with practice. It's important that we be compassionate towards other people, because it's important as our role as a human to other human beings, and because it's a goal that begins in us and ends in us. The benefit, the fulfillment, the accomplishment stays with us. And the exercise of compassion is independent of how the compassion is received or even if it's noticed. It should be stressed that the formation or the retraining of what we consider important inward doesn't come at the cost of feeling nothing towards the things that are outside of us. A common misconception that was prevalent back then, 2,000 years ago, and persists to the current day, is that Stoics are trying to feel nothing. That Stoics are trying to become robots. That Stoics are trying to suppress their emotions, or what we know commonly as common emotions. It not only would be doing that not be possible completely, unless you're a sage, but even then they wouldn't. It would be unhelpful. It's not possible for us to be social and rational beings without feeling compassion or acting compassionately towards others to improve their quality of life. The objective is to learn to frame things as they are on a moment-by-moment basis, not as we desire them to be, and to know where and how to make that distinction clear to us. The very act of being compassionate necessitates that we feel something towards other people. The end result of the compassion falls outside our ownership. If the end result is the way that we want it, it's because various events came together in addition to our own trying to make them that way that enabled that to happen. If it didn't happen, if things don't happen the way that we want, it's because other causes and effects happen to come together in a way that, despite our best efforts, it just didn't end up that way. The fact remains, our goal is to be compassionate. And whether we are compassionate is on us. Consistently accomplishing these types of goals is possible, and it's desirable because it allows us to draw appreciation and strength from within ourselves from virtually any situation. But it takes time, it takes practice, and most importantly, above almost all else, you have to be patient with yourself. Learning to think of things this way earns you the ability to come to terms with an uncomfortable but necessary truth, which is that things don't always turn out the way that we want them, but that they happen the way that they do, the way that they pan out. Because your goals are self-formed and self-realized, welcome in No Flow, your resistance to things not turning out the way that you would like improves. You become more self-sufficient. At the same time, the increased focus on fulfilling your roles well improves the chances that things that you would prefer to turn out the way that you would like them to turn out happen that way. To put it in as stupid of a sentence format as I can, it's like I've been talking for 2 hours. In a word, the aim is not to depend your peace of mind upon results. You are depending your peace of mind on your choices and how those choices inform your actions leading up to that result and how you react to that result. The objective is not to disconnect yourself. Again, that's a common misconception, but to come to terms with what you have and do not have reasonable control over. The goal is to fashion yourself into a person that can give their all no matter what's happening and draw satisfaction and value from that mindset. So from this, it becomes possible to benefit from very difficult circumstances where others might stumble, and to avoid being swept away or caught off guard in very pressing circumstances where others might pride themselves on, having good fortune, having good luck, and then them just being susceptible or vulnerable when it ends. All right, that's been a lot. Anyone got the clip of Stoic beating Mog? For any of you just had to be there, it was true. You can go back. The VOD is there. Just watch all my VODs and then subscribe to my Only Stoics account, and then buy my merch, and then buy all the things on my throne, including the 6-can mini fridge that I can only accept as a gift. I'm probably gonna buy it anyway. Let's be real. No streamer cave is complete without a 6-can fridge, It's just not. I'm not talking about like a fucking like energy drink claw machine like Moist Critical has, or Penguin Zero, or whatever you know him as. It's a little guy. Just a little
Welcome to the
sleazy guy.
bonfire, unkindled one.
Thank you so much for the gift sub to Epictetus. I'll let him know that he can enjoy an ad-free experience and enjoy all these emotes. This is so good. All right, let me text my wife, unless she's actually listening, because I'm not sure. Sorry, I almost bumped in my container of ginger slices. My wife, at my request, very helpfully went out and got me 3 containers of about a pound of ginger slices, so 3 pounds of ginger slices. Dude, I'm fucking living it up. I'm gonna pound back these. I'm gonna pound this. I'm gonna pound this pound of ginger slices, bruh. I'm gonna get deep in that ginger slushy. You know what I'm talking about? Here, let me... Oh, streamer fixed his audio? Yeah, it was bad. You were correct, NoFlow. So I did testing because I'm, you know, a consummate professional, right? And when I tested how my voice sounded 2 different ways. I tested it through my voice mod application, and I tested it in the program that was supposed to improve my audio, and just made it way worse. And I sounded better than I did, but what I heard from doing those tests was completely different than what actually was output to you guys. So thank you for dealing with that. I should sound exactly the way that I did before. What are the alert revamps? So thank you for noticing. So at the top, we achieved a goal, largely in due part to everyone, but especially Obes got us over that hump to actually hit 200. So we changed, which was paying partially for the animated intro that you saw at the very beginning. The alerts are basically upgraded versions of this.
Welcome home,
This is something I know that it's partially blocked, but you can see it. Like the alerts appearing on screen. Those alerts are cool, and I do like them. But I like the pixel motifs that we're adding to the channel. I think that they're timeless. I think that they look great. And I think that getting, like, I don't know, pixelized animated versions of, and I'm just spitballing, I've not committed to anything, pixelated animated versions of me or my model, Sussy or Shumi's version of Sussy, like coming in and, like, I don't know, doing a funny little dance and then opening their hands, and then it says thank you subscriber, and then says the name. You know, I think it'd be fucking lit, as the cool kids say. Oh, I was right again. See, the thing is, Franny, is that you fuck with me so often that it's like a coin toss. It's like a simple majority percentage whether you're fucking with me or not. You're such a fucking troll. And that's me spitballing. Almost assuredly, just like normal, what I'll do is I'll throw like a poll out there on Twitter, on Discord, on so on and so forth, where you can see like the different choices of like what the alerts could look like, and then we'll go from there. And then I'll let that influence my decision. Let me do one more cursory check of the Telegram to see if anyone put any questions in. We're gonna start wrapping this up soon. All right, so nobody else has put any other questions, which is fine. Let me text my wife. Oh my god, he's texting while streaming. That's basically like texting and driving. Gross. Are you ready to stream in like 15-20 minutes, where we'll go on break and then we'll transition to her playing Horizon Forbidden West, my wife Shumi. We're gonna stream like 15-20 minutes. I'll get it set up for you. You are my Pookie, sorry, not Spooky, autocorrect. Pookie, Wookum, Silly, Willy, honey coated, chocolate suckle, bunny bun. And then I'm going to do this emoji of this winking face doing finger guns. That should be very well received. What was he right about? The audio? He never does? I don't know if you're fucking with me. It's the thing, is that I wanted... what you need to do, Franny, okay? Let's work out a system. What you need to do to tell me if you're joking or not, you need to put like a winky face. Like a literal winky face, like from like your standard list of like Microsoft like emojis or something. Something that stands out to me as like, okay, he put the I'm kidding call sign in there. So that means that he's actually kidding. So like, you're doing great. I appreciate that. Oh, so are you. It's in his American blood to never believe British people. True. Tell you shit it with excrement. When she said yes to marriage, call her your stinky little Discord kitten. I don't know. I think she'd be into that. Should I just send a Discord message instead? No, because I don't because I don't know when I'm gonna look at the Discord message. If you think I'm bad with chat, Lord help you if you try to get my attention during an active stream by Discord messaging me. I'll do it for X-Ray. But like if I see a generic ping on there and nobody tells me, like if it's not X-Ray telling me, hey, can you check your DMs? I'm gonna give it like 10 minutes. Sorry, I haven't been talking much, but I am lurking. You're totally fine. This isn't the sort of stream format where it's easy to like openly just talk. Like to make text sounds with your text mouth. I get it. It's the type of stream where you just kind of like sit there and have me going on in the background. It's basically like a podcast. We'll check DMs. Yes and no. She's probably saying no to being called that. All right. Oh, check my DMs. I didn't advertise in my own Discord. Fuck you. Yeah, no, that's very here. Let's change tempo a little bit. All right. So I'm gonna grab this, close out of this, take this, and we're gonna go down a trip of Franny Lane in a moment and see what the type of person is that is saying fuck you in my DMs and is trying to get me to take them seriously when they're telling me legitimately about audio problems. Cursed folder, Franny folder. Let's open all these up. Let's open all these up. And then browser toggle. Okay.
Off the records, don't clip this. Don't clip this, right? But off the
Maybe
record.
make yourself small because you can't see it.
Would you absolute annihilate Yoshi's ass if the opportunity arrived?
Off the records, don't clip this.
I'll let you watch
don't
it because it was blacked out for a second.
Off the record.
Would you absolute annihilate Yoshi's ass if the opportunity arrived?
Right, kisses.
We're gonna let this one play. We're gonna let this run twice. With Franny's permission, I will turn this into a soundbite for my soundboard. But he has to give me permission first. I mean, you already stole his voice for this.
Moan for me, daddy.
I'm gonna eat a ginger slice. I've said yes already? Okay, well, let me put that in my task list. Give me a second. Streaming. Put Franny's kiss and burp clip into soundboard. I don't remember what you say. All right, back in it. This is my favorite clip. This was like the second stream that I ever saw of Franny's. The second experience with him. This is by far my favorite clip out of all of them that I bothered to save. Let's keep watching. Look at that shit. You thought this was a bit? I was like, there's no way. I could tell, and I can't tell now. that you absolutely did not mean it to be a bit. You were just playing the video game. And you can see the thought process. You can see the realization that, is it too late to commit? I don't want to wait for it to go all the way back. You can do whatever the fuck you want with my clips of shit. Can I give you permission for him? I love that one. Does Freddy have a frog fetish? That goes for everyone. Okay, Freddy, sending them to your job. Be right back. Will you hear it or here first? I'm gonna go lurk. You thought this was a bit. Challenge accepted. Works on a compilation of sound bites that make it look like Freddy is a Nazi. Tactical bird sound. One more time. No one more. God, dude.
You're fucking married. It's a bit hard to play. Getting hard to get when you're married. You're fucking married. It's a bit hard to play. Getting hard to get when you're married.
Wow, the cringe is strong. I need to remember what I came here for.
Bazinga!
Hilarious shit. What?
Okay. All right. So we're gonna swap over to Shumi, my wife, playing Horizon Forbidden West. If you've enjoyed this even a little bit, consider subscribing. Sorry, wrong. Following, but also subscribing. It's free. Updates you when I'm around. If you like this a ton and want to support the channel, every single penny from subscriptions, bits, donations, buying merch, shit like that, feeds directly back into improving the stream, which you can see as evidence at the very top. You can see, generally speaking, what your money is going towards. Next stream for me is going to be Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard. We killed Moog in Elden Ring, which means we're now transitioning to XCOM 2 veteran Iron Man mode, where I'm going to be pulling names from chat and making you soldiers and having you die in a series of back-to-back unforced errors. And that's going to be fun for everyone involved, except for Xantos, who is going to watch me carelessly allow him to die due to just an easy call, just a simple action that could have saved his life, and yet he fucking Omega died. How unfortunate was that? I don't know what Shumi intends for tomorrow. I don't know if she's going to be streaming tomorrow. She'll figure that out for herself towards the tail end of whenever she's done streaming today. Just hang tight, take a break, go get some food, water, rub one out, whatever it is that you feel that you need to do in this moment, and we'll meet back in like 15-20 minutes with Shumi, with Horizon Forbidden West. Thank you guys for being here. I greatly appreciate it. I'm, again, spitballing, but the next theme stream that I'm going to set up might be a real human stream. This is for all the X-ray specs out there. If I do set that up and I show you my meat suit, okay, it's going to be horrifically immersion breaking for you. If you care about the idea in your head of me being like a robot in a toga. Okay, so don't watch that one if that's what I end up doing. Okay, all right, I will see you guys, or rather Shumi will see you guys in about 15 to 20. Bye-bye, thank you for being here. Bye, bear back, bye. You buried me in a toga. I'll get some bed sheets, we'll figure it out.